Hey, bitches.
Yes, hello, bitches.
You finally said bitches.
It hurts to say. I don't like it. It's weird.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess I don't have the attitude for it.
The attitude of the bitches.
Yep.
Or it's a special tribe.
No, I can't do it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Well, maybe Jess will be back next week and we'll
Maybe
address the bitches proper.
Yeah, you guys will actually have your normal crew back, hopefully.
Possibly. I need to actually suss that out with her and find out when she's coming back. I'm not great at this. I just work here.
Having a kid it's a little life changing, so she can take her time.
Exactly. No rush. Jess, if you don't want to come back yet, that's fine.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna sit over here and cry. Continue to cry. But it was weird starting a podcast off by saying "Hey bitches." Speaking of, because for the last 3 episodes that we recorded today, that wasn't said.
No, you're the only one on this show that says "Hey bitches."
Yeah, and it felt a little weird to start a show off with it again. I mean, I obviously love it, but whatever. But if you're like, oh, what podcast are you guys? I just had a stroke. What podcast were you recording before this that wasn't Hot for Justice? I'm glad you asked. What's so funny? Do you think that nobody asked?
Somebody out there asked.
Well, let me tell you. So, if you're familiar with good friend of the show, Jackson Bishop, him and I started a new project where we both read and watch a Harry Potter movie and talk about it for a little bit. I've always been a huge fan of the franchise, and he's always not really given a shit. So,
yeah,
a couple different perspectives there. If you remember an episode a few weeks back, actually that's where I was born.
Yeah,
so,
it was.
You heard it first, folks.
So if you like Harry Potter, that'll definitely be a good one for you.
Yeah,
You're doing a good job over there.
Thank you. If I remember, I'll link it in the show notes and all that. We have social media and shit, so I'll link the Instagram, Twitter. We're not live yet. Hopefully, we'll be live by this Thursday. Fingers crossed. I submitted us to all the powers that be, and
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So we're shooting for a Thursday upload for that. So
cool.
Yeah, stay tuned. And then we also recorded another episode of your podcast.
That's right. Weekend plans. We record an episode of that. It'll be going up Tuesday, I'm thinking.
So tomorrow?
Tomorrow's Monday.
But they're listening to this on Monday.
Oh, right. Yeah, so tomorrow. Duh. Tomorrow for you guys. So that'll be out. We talk about the new Joker movie a little bit. What we're excited for, why Jackson's not excited for it. Just kind of cool stuff like that. And it branched over into other nerd topics of movies.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
Yeah, so go check him out over there. I'll link his show too. Now that the promotional corner is over and done with.
Yes.
This week, we are going to talk about the case that we alluded to last week.
Oh, yes. This is a good one.
Yes. This is, I feel like, a bit of a combination of a regular episode and also a screen recap. Because, we did watch the documentary that this case was based on. Or,
yep.
Yes.
The
documentary was based on this case. I'm stupid. But, we watched that together, and that was a wild ride, let me tell you.
It is. It's a good one. I think it's on, is it Netflix?
It's Netflix. It's Netflix produced.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's going to be there forever.
100%. And I actually never said what we're talking about. We're talking about the death of Kathleen Peterson, a.k.a. the Staircase Murder. That's what the Netflix special is called. I think it's like a 10 or 12-part docuseries.
It's something like that. Sounds about right.
It's very long. It's honestly a little bit too long, because I feel like they kind of hash over a lot of the same stuff. We'll get more into that. So I'm going to read the Wikipedia page. What's really funny is that it's Michael Peterson, because he was the guy that did it. And you're like, oh, why are you covering covering this case that's very clearly solved? Well, it might not be. Did he really do it? No one knows. There's a lot of theories, some conspiracy theories, and we're gonna get more into that today too.
It'll be good.
It's absolutely wild. This case is insane, and we're here to have some fun today.
Exactly.
But yeah, the Wikipedia page literally says Michael Peterson and then in parentheses criminal. So they're really selling it that he did something wrong.
Yes.
So what's funny is that prior to this, he was actually an author he he was in the military in some regard. I don't remember exactly what, but he after he got out of the military wrote a handful of novels that did pretty well, and so that's why. Because at first I was like, how the fuck do they have so much money? Because these people were very well off, and it's because he's an author.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
No, yeah.
Okay, so this happened in 2003. Michael Peterson was convicted of murdering his second wife, Kathleen Peterson, on December 1st of 2001. After 8 years, Peterson was granted a new trial after the judge ruled a critical prosecution witness gave a misleading testimony. The new trial was set to begin May 8th of 2017. On February 24th, 2017, Peterson submitted an Alford plea to the reduced charge of manslaughter. He was sentenced to time already served, and he was then freed. So the case is the subject of the staircase. Do you know what an Alford plea is?
No, actually don't.
I saw you kind of make a face when I said that.
Yeah.
So basically that means, like, you plead guilty, but you're not accepting that you did it, if that makes sense.
Okay. So, like, you're just pleading guilty to get the softer sentence.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
So the definition, I guess, an Alford plea is named after the U.S. Supreme Court case of North Carolina versus Alford. Henry Alford had been indicted on a charge of first-degree murder in 1963. Evidence in the case included testimony from witnesses that Alford had said after the victim's death that he killed the individual. The court testimony showed that Alford and the victim had argued at the victim's house. Alford left the house, and afterwards, the victim received a fatal gunshot wound after he opened the door, responding to a knock. He was faced with capital punishment if he was convicted. The death penalty was a default sentence by North Carolina at the time for a first-degree homicide. I'm totally getting off topic, but this is actually very interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, that is.
So basically, if he had a life sentence, or if he had pleaded guilty, he would get a reduced life sentence. And then he would have avoided the death penalty. So, basically it is just, you're pleading to get a lower sentence, but you're not admitting guilt. If that makes sense. Like, you're just like, fuck it, like, I'm fucked.
Yeah, I might as well just...
Yeah. So, it's actually, in Paradise Lost, that case of the West Memphis 3, they did an Alford plea, finally, because they were offered it after they were already in jail for, like, 18 years.
Oh, my God.
And, they were like, oh, how do you plead? They were like, oh, I plead guilty, but I didn't do it. Is, like, what, like, a couple of the kids had said. It was actually, like, kind of wild. So, anyway. So, back to the murder of Kathleen Peterson.
Yes.
So, December 9th, 2001, Michael Peterson called the emergency line to report that he had found his wife unconscious in their Forest Hills mansion and suspected that she had fallen down. Quote, 15, 20, I don't know, end quote, number of stairs.
Good God.
Yes. He later claimed that he had been outside by the pool and come in around 2:40 in the morning to find Kathleen at the foot of the stairs. He said that she must have fallen down the stairs after consuming alcohol and a Valium.
Oh.
Toxicology results show that his wife's blood alcohol content was 0.07%. So, like, not even, like, if she was driving drunk, like, she would have been fine.
Yeah, so it was definitely not enough to do...
Not enough to do that.
No.
The autopsy also concluded that the 48-year-old woman had sustained a matrix of severe injuries, including a fracture of the thyroid neck cartilage and 7 lacerations to the top and back of her head.
Jesus.
This was consistent with blows from a blunt object, and she had dried blood. She had died from blood loss 90 minutes to 2 hours after sustaining these injuries. Kathleen's daughter Caitlin and Kathleen's sister Candace both initially proclaimed Michael's innocence and publicly supported him alongside his children, but then the sister learned that Peterson was bisexual and started reading the autopsy report. Her and the daughter then started breaking off from the rest of the family and not supporting him anymore.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So the bisexual thing does play an important role. I don't know if they're going to talk about it more down here, but so basically, and they talked about this in The Staircase, the movie also. So this took place in 2001, but he had been, I guess, on gay and bisexual message boards and basically talking to people online.
Okay.
And hooking up with other men.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So he was cheating on his wife with just these strange men from the internet.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
That's a scandal.
Yeah. And so one of the theories is that he killed her because she found out and wanted to out him.
Oh. Mm-hmm. That would make sense too.
Right. And so that's why her family's oh wait, maybe.
Yeah.
That's what happened. So a forensic expert, Dr. Henry Lee, hired by the defense team, testified that the blood spatter evidence was consistent with an accidental fall down the stairs. Police investigators concluded that the injuries were consistent with such an accident as well. As Michael Peterson was the only person at the residence at the time of Kathleen's death, he was a prime suspect and was soon charged with her murder. He pled not guilty. The medical examiner, Dr. Deborah Radish, concluded that Kathleen had died from lacerations on the scalp, and which was caused by a homicidal assault.
That's, definitely not a staircase.
No. According to Dr. Radish, the total of 7 lacerations on the top and back of her head were the result of repeated blows with a light yet rigid weapon. The defense disputed this theory. According to their analysis, Kathleen's skull had not been fractured by the blows, nor was she brain damaged, which would be inconsistent with her having been beaten. The trial drew increasing media attention as details of Michael's private life emerged. Durham County District Attorney James Hardin Jr. and the prosecutors attacked his credibility, focusing on the alleged misreporting of his military service and what they described as a gay life that he had led and kept secret. The prosecution contended that Peterson's marriage was far from happy, suggesting that Kathleen had discovered his secret gay life and wanted to end their marriage. It was the main motive that the prosecution offered at the trial for Kathleen's alleged murder, other than the $1.5 million life insurance policy that she had.
Oh, damn.
So, there was also lots of money to be had.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The defense argued that Kathleen accepted Michael's bisexuality and the marriage was very happy, a position that was supported by Michael and Kathleen's children and other friends and associates. The prosecution said that the murder was not most likely committed with a custom-made fireplace poker called a blowpoke. It had been given to the Petersons from Kathleen's sister, but was missing from the house at the time of the murder investigation.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Just coincidentally, the item that could most likely...
Yeah. And it also is consistent with a light, hard object.
Yeah, and it just happened to be gone.
Yep.
That's not suspicious.
Not at all.
Especially because it was a custom one, right? So it was like a gift.
Yes.
They're not just going to...
Not you're just going to throw it away.
Yeah.
But very weird.
All right.
So, another thing that happened is that in 1985, Elizabeth Ratcliffe, a friend of the Petersons who died in Germany in 1985, had also been found dead at the foot of her staircase with injuries to her head. Her death had been investigated by both the German and U.S. military police. An autopsy at the time of her death concluded that she died from an intracerebral hemorrhage secondary to the blood coagulation disorder von Willebrand's disease, based on the fact that there was blood in her cerebrospinal fluid and
Jesus.
Reports that she had been suffering from severe persistent headaches in the weeks leading up to her death.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. The coroner determined that the hemorrhage resulted in immediate death, followed by Ratcliffe falling down the stairs after collapsing. Petersons had dinner with Ratcliffe and her daughters, and Michael had stayed and helped her put the children to bed before going home. The children's nanny, Barbara, discovered the body when she arrived the next morning. Peterson was the last known person to see her alive.
Coincidentally again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before Peterson's trial, the Durham court ordered the exhumation of Ratcliffe's embalmed body buried in Texas for a second autopsy in 2003. Arrangements were made for the Durham medical examiner and pathologist, who had also performed Kathleen's autopsy, to perform the evaluation over the objections of the defense counsel, who had argued that the autopsy should be performed by the state of Texas medical examiners.
Okay.
The body was transported from Texas to Durham, and the Durham medical examiner found sufficient evidence drawn from the results of the second autopsy, along with new witness statements describing the scene, to overturn the original findings and list Ratcliffe's death as a homicide. So, the prosecution declined to accuse Peterson of Ratcliffe's death, but introduced the death into the trial as an incident, giving Peterson the idea of how to fake Kathleen's accident. Despite police reports that there was very little blood at the scene of Ratliff's death, the nanny who was the first to discover the body said that she took the stand at Peterson's trial and testified that there was a large amount of blood at the scene. Another witness testified to spending much of the day cleaning up blood off the wall. The admissibility of the Ratliff evidence in court was one of the grounds for the subsequent appeal against his conviction lodged by Peterson's lawyer in 2005. October 10, 2003, after one of the longest trials in North Carolina history, a Durham County jury found Michael Peterson guilty of the murder of Kathleen Peterson, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Oh, wow.
Denial of parole requires premeditation. Despite the injury accepting the murder as a spur-of-the-moment crime, they also found that it was premeditated. As one juror explained it, the premeditated meant that it wasn't only planning hours or days ahead, but could also mean planning in the seconds before committing a spur-of-the-moment crime. Which, to be 100% honest, I kind of, take a bit of issue with that.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, because it's then there would be no spur-of-the-moment or heat-of-the-moment crimes.
That's true.
That wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So second-degree murder wouldn't be...
a thing.
Right.
Yeah. Huh.
You know what I mean? Or
that makes sense.
Or even, voluntary, or involuntary manslaughter, if you, beat the shit out of someone and they die.
Yeah.
That was, probably, a heat-of-the-moment thing.
Yeah, it's usually in a fight.
Right. But, how can you... that's the other thing, too. It's, how can you prove premeditation?
Yeah.
And, how long is considered premeditated?
That's true.
So, I mean, I definitely think he, planned to kill his wife. That's neither here nor there. But...
it looks like he
but,
planned to do it off what he did in Germany.
Right. And, it's possible he'd been planning it for a long time, but maybe, that night he just got the idea and whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think that you can... It could be predetermined if it was within, a moment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't know. That just seems odd to me.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm on board with that.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Peterson was housed at the Nash Correctional Institution near Rocky Mount until he was released on December 16th, 2011. So Peterson's appeal was filed by his defense counsel, Thomas Mayer, now serving as his court-appointed attorney, and was argued before the North Carolina Court of Appeals on April 18th, 2006. On September 19th, 2006, the Court of Appeals rejected the arguments, saying that his argument that he didn't get a fair trial because of repeated judicial mistakes. The appeals ruling said that the evidence was fairly admitted. The judges did find defects in a search warrant, but they said that had no ill effect on the defense. Because the Court of Appeals ruling was not unanimous under North Carolina law, Peterson had the right to appeal with the North Carolina Supreme Court, which accepted the case. Oral argument was heard on September 10th of 2007. On November 9th of 2007, the court announced that it would affirm the decision of the Court of Appeals. This was... So basically, he had already exhausted his appeals to the verdict.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So November 12th, 2008, a couple of Richmond, Virginia attorneys started representing Peterson. They filed a motion for a new trial in Durham County on 3 grounds. The prosecution withheld exculpatory evidence about the blowpoke. The prosecution used an expert witness whose qualifications were disputed, and one juror based his judgment on racial factors. On March 10th, 2009, Peterson's motion was denied by the Superior Court. Right. I'll get down to this part, too. So, in August of 2010, following a series of newspaper articles critical of the investigative tactics of the State Bureau of Investigation agents, the Attorney General Roy Cooper had led an investigation which resulted in the SBI... what?
Nothing.
Oh, I thought you were making a face.
No.
Sorry. This resulted in the suspension of the SBI analyst, Dwayne Deaver.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm like, what am I reading? One of the principal witnesses against Peterson. The report also found his work among some of the worst done and scores of flawed criminal cases.
Oh my god. So just a casual little thing.
Right. So, basically there was enough of a motion to support the state medical examiner's office to turn over all documentation related to Kathleen Peterson's autopsy to his attorneys. However, the judge barred him from filing any further motions on behalf of the Peterson because he actually wasn't representing him at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So a new motion was followed by one of his attorneys, original attorneys, challenging the SBI agent's testimony because he was lying. Deaver gets fired from the SBI, and by the way, I am saying SBI, not FBI. I feel like they sound similar.
They do.
So he was fired January 2011 after an independent audit of the agency found that he had falsely reported evidence in 34 cases.
Oh my God.
Including withholding negative results in the case of Greg Taylor, a man who spent 17 years in prison on a murder conviction based on his testimony.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus.
In the 2003 Peterson trial, Deaver testified that he had been mentored by SBI bloodstain specialist David Spittle and had worked on over 500 cases, written 200 reports, and testified in 60 cases. Upon the retrial hearing, they testified that he had written only 47 reports, not 200.
That's a little off.
A little bit. And the guy that allegedly trained him says he doesn't recall ever mentoring Deaver.
That's even worse.
And he had only completed a 2-day training course in the 80s.
So, like, this guy just did, like, a quick little, like, fly-by-night course.
Yes, and he had only testified in 4 cases.
Oh.
The Peterson case was his 3rd.
Oh, my God.
Yes. So, not a great witness.
No. Not a good witness at all.
December 16, 2011, Peterson was released from the Durham County Jail on $300,000 bail and placed under house arrest while with a tracking anklet. Mm-hmm. His release on bond followed a judicial order for a new trial after Judge Hudson had found that the SBI blood good God,
You're just
analyst. I can't
over
fucking read.
Today.
I know. I think I've been talking too much today, honestly.
That's probably true. We can get through this.
So the Judge Hudson found that the SBI blood analyst Dwayne Deaver had given materially misleading and deliberately false testimony about the bloodstain evidence and had exaggerated his training experience and expertise.
So it's flat out lied.
So basically any evidence that he had given was deemed inadmissible in any new trials. In July of 2014, Peterson's bond restrictions were erased. In October 2014, the court-appointed attorney for Peterson stated that he could no longer afford to represent him without being paid, so he had to get new representation. November 14, 2016, Peterson's request for the second trial to be dismissed was refused, and a new trial was scheduled to begin on May 8th, 2017, because I think he still didn't have a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
But then February 7th, 2017, a resolution had been negotiated, and he was able to have his lawyer back.
Okay.
February 24th of 2017, Peterson entered the Alford plea, a guilty plea entered because sufficient evidence exists to convict him of the offense, but the defendant asserts their innocence. To the voluntary manslaughter of Kathleen Peterson. The judge sentenced him to a maximum of 86 months in prison with credit for time previously served. Because he had already served more time than that, he didn't face any extra time. October of 2002, one of their kids filed a wrongful death claim against Michael Peterson.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, like even his kid was like, "Fuck you, Dad."
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
In 2006, he voluntarily filed for bankruptcy. And then 2 weeks later, his daughter filed an objection to the bankruptcy.
What? Mm-hmm. You could do that?
Apparently.
Jeez.
February 1st of 2007, Caitlin and Michael settled the wrongful death claim for $25 million.
What?
Pending acceptance by the courts involved, finalization of the settlement by the court was announced on February 1st of 2008.
Damn.
In the settlement, he still didn't admit that he killed her.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I guess, like, I definitely don't feel bad for him. He's definitely getting, like, everything he deserved.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
It's just, like, crazy that everybody actually went through with it.
Yeah.
You always see, like, cases, like, where, like, he obviously killed the mom, and, like, the kids are like, you know what? It's not cool, man. Like, and they just went after him.
Isn't that fucking insane?
That's crazy.
Okay. So, that's what happened.
Damn.
So, yeah, did she fall? Did he, hit her over the head and then make her fall?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, she definitely fell, and he probably, used the fire poker. And was it 2 or 3 hits to the head?
I think it was like 7 or 8.
Oh, damn.
Like,
yeah,
it was a lot.
Yeah, so she Jesus. There's so much evidence, and then the fact that it was back in Germany?
Yeah, the first lady.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm looking to see if I could find the number of lacerations, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a good amount.
Yeah.
It was enough for, like, she probably got hit a few times and then fell down the stairs.
But, did you know there was another theory about what happened?
Is this going to my favorite theory?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The owl theory.
Fucking owls, man. You gotta watch out for that.
This is probably one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard that's true crime related in my entire life.
Yeah, this one's really good.
Okay. Hold on to your assholes. In late 2009, a new theory of Kathleen Peterson's death was raised, that she had been attacked by an owl outside, fallen after rushing inside, and had been knocked unconscious after hitting her head on the first tread of the stairs. Let that sink in for a second.
Just let it marinate on it for a bit.
I'm going to read it again. In late 2009, a new theory of Kathleen Peterson's death was raised, that she had been attacked by an owl outside, fallen after rushing inside, and had been knocked unconscious after hitting her head on the first tread of the stairs.
Fucking owls, man.
God.
Everybody said they're the assholes of this guy.
But maybe Mike's innocent. You know, maybe he didn't do it. Maybe it was a rogue owl.
Fucking rogue owl coming in.
Let me tell you more about the owl theory.
Love the owl theory.
Let's do a deep dive. The owl theory was raised by Durham attorney T. Lawrence Pollard, a neighbor of the Petersons who was not involved in the case but had been following the public details. This was that guy that they wouldn't give him any information because he wasn't the attorney.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. He approached the police suggesting an owl might have been responsible after reading the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation's evidence list and finding a feather listed. Peterson's attorneys had determined that the SBI crime lab had listed a microscopic owl feather and a wooden sliver from a tree limb entangled in a clump of hair that had been pulled out by the roots and clutched in Kathleen's left hand. A re-examination of the hair in 2008 found 2 more microscopic owl feathers.
Oh no, it's gaining steam.
Although Pollard did not speak on the theory to anybody else, the Durham Herald-Sun published an article ridiculing him and discrediting his theory. Other media picked it up, propagating the Herald-Sun story, which was later criticized as inaccurate. Mm-hmm. Advocates of the theory assert that other evidence supports it, namely the scalp wounds were tri-lobed and paired, consistent with marks left by talons. The feathers are similar to those on owl feet. Cedar needles were found on her hands and body, indicating that Kathleen had fallen over outside shortly before entering the house. That her blood had spattered up the staircase rather than down, and that the footprints in her own blood indicate that she was already bleeding before she reached the foot of the stairs. The 2 drops of blood that were found outside the house on the front walkway, along with a finger smear of blood on the front door, would be consistent with her pushing the door shut. Advocates also note that owl attacks on people are common in the area, with one victim stating that the impact was similar to being hit on the head with a baseball bat. On look on your face, I can't tell if you're starting to buy it or if you're like...
You know what's so funny is they're actually like
they're
crafting a solid argument for this owl thing. Like I'm sitting here listening to this and all the evidence stacking up, and the first thought that goes through my head, I'm like, you know what's funny about this? That's just fucking crazy enough to have actually happened.
Yeah, and that's what they were hoping.
Like that's one of those things that like I could legit see that like 1 in a million cases of somebody coming home, and then this fucking asshole owl comes down and attacks you. Hits you in the head once, that's why you're bleeding, and so you start running to the house to escape him. And the question I have next, though, is if this was the thing with the owl theory. She gets to the door, we open the door. Did she just not close the door and the owl flew in after her?
Well, so she got attacked outside.
Outside, but the staircase is inside.
Right, so she got attacked outside by the owl.
Uh-huh.
She got spooked. She ran inside.
I know. My question is, so you're probably assuming with this is that attacked by the owl, runs up the stairs, falls because she's fleeing from the owl because she rushed up the stairs, slipped and fell. So then my question is to counter that argument is, well, why when she closed the door, the owl didn't get in?
She did close the door.
Yeah, so the owl didn't get in.
No, they're not saying that the owl was inside.
Yeah, I just don't know why then she would keep running up the stairs in their argument.
Oh, okay, got it. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was not connecting what you were...
Yeah, just looking at their argument, like picturing it all. It's just like you can see everything perfectly until we get to the staircase, and then I kind of lose it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why would she keep running? She's safe.
Yeah, well, maybe my devil's advocate kind of response to that is like, well, maybe the bathroom was upstairs, and that's where the first aid stuff was, or I don't know.
Yeah, but we're gonna find out what they keep going with it.
Yes. So according to Pollard, a jury had been presented with the evidence that was presented with this evidence. It would have been materially affected their deliberation, and therefore should have materially affected their ultimate verdict. So basically, because this theory was never talked about in court, they couldn't have like a good enough idea to say if he was guilty or not. Prosecutors have ridiculed the claim, and Dr. Deborah Radish, who conducted the autopsy, says it's unlikely that an owl or any bird could have made wounds as deep as that on her scalp. However, Radish's opinion was challenged by other experts in 3 separate affidavits filed in 2010. Dr. Alan Van Norman wrote, "The multiple wounds present suggests to me that an owl and Miss Peterson somehow became entangled. Perhaps the owl got tangled in her hair, or perhaps she grabbed the owl's foot."
Oh, okay.
Dr. Patrick T. Reddig, a professor of veterinary medicine at the University of Minnesota, wrote, "In my professional opinion, the hypothesized attack of the face and back of the head, resulting in the various punctures and lacerations visible in the autopsy photographs, it's entirely within the behavioral repertoire of large owls." Kate P. Davis, executive director of the Raptors of the Rockies, a Western Montana education and wildlife rehabilitation project. That's a fucking name.
That is a...
The Raptors of the Rockies.
Raptors of the Rockies. It sounds like a AAA baseball team.
It sounds like a shitty, indie band.
Both. It's a shitty indie band that's also the shitty AAA team.
Whoa.
Actually, AAA is really good.
So where am I? She wrote, "The lacerations on Mrs. Peterson's scalp look very much like those made by a raptor's talons, especially if she had forcibly torn the bird from the back of her head. That would also explain the feathers found in her hand and the many hairs pulled out by the root that were broken. The size and configuration of the lacerations could clearly indicate the feet of a barred owl." Davis further noted that owls can kill species much larger than themselves, and that it's not uncommon for them to attack people.
Damn.
Despite interest in this theory among some outside advocates, no mention of the new trial was filed on this point in 2009. On March 2nd of 2017, following the Alford plea, Mr. Peterson's attorney filed a motion to allow him to pay for a bird expert at the Smithsonian to examine feather fragments found in her hair to determine if she was attacked by a raptor owl. I actually don't know if it was ever approved or not, but
jeez,
isn't that fucking wild?
Yeah, it's again, it's just so funny because it's like that argument of it is such a reach of an argument that it's like,
yeah,
I kind of get why you would reach that hard, because it's so crazy that it probably had to happen.
Right. It's the fucking craziest shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's good.
It is. So, I'm going to talk about a couple things that I have watched in the documentary. I don't know if you remember any of this. More reason why I think the owl theory is a bunch of BS, and why I think he absolutely fucking did it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do think that they were probably drunk, and she was probably fucked up because she had booze and a Valium. That Valium probably knocked her dick in the dirt.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But so he called 911 at 2:40 in the morning. Yeah. He states that they drank at least 2 bottles of wine that night, and were kind of just staying up late and kind of partying, just the two of them, whatever.
Having a great day.
Yeah.
Evening, night. And
then sat outside for a while in the backyard, and then she was like, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no way that, so he was outside, so he couldn't have heard anything.
True. If he's outside, let's say she gets attacked by the owl, I'm sure she's gonna scream.
Oh, I'm not talking about the owl theory.
Oh.
I guess, yeah, but in general, if she fucking fell down the stairs, 1, it's gonna be loud.
Yep.
2, she's probably gonna be like, "Holy fuck!" I fell down the stairs.
Yes, that might be her exact words.
Holy fuck! I fell down the stairs. No, but she's probably screaming, or
yes.
At least said, I don't know, ow.
Ow. I'm in a little bit of pain.
Just a scratch.
Never gonna believe it, but holy fuck, I fell down the stairs.
But yeah, so that's what he's saying. He's like, oh, I was outside and I was just, I didn't hear anything.
Gotcha.
No, first of all, fuck you.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's another. Again, I literally have not stopped thinking about this owl theory. It's just fucking bonkers to me. And so everything I hear from the case forward, I'm literally just using as evidence to go with that owl theory for and against it, because it's my favorite theory I've ever heard.
Perfect. So, also, to piggyback on the owl theory, if she was attacked by an owl, wouldn't he fucking notice?
That's what I was saying. Like, if she was attacked by an owl, and I'm pretty sure, like, he'd been staring at the stars or whatever, and, like, drunk on wine.
He would have heard, like, an owl. The owl's probably freaking the fuck out.
The owl probably screeches or something.
Yeah,
when it
and
attacks.
she's probably screaming bloody murder.
Also, you don't go casually into the night with getting attacked by an owl. You kind of yell,
No.
what the fuck?
Holy fuck.
I'm being attacked by an owl. just exactly like that.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, keep going.
Sorry. Holy fuck, I've been attacked by an owl. But, yeah. So it doesn't make sense to me. I don't like it. And, my other thing, too, is, like, if she was attacked outside by an owl, I feel like the fucking neighbors would have heard something. Like, there's really just a lot going on with that. But anyways, I think that's a bunch of shit. I think, like I said, I think it's possible that, like, she might have fallen. I don't doubt that.
Yeah. Well, again, yeah, she definitely fell.
But I personally think, I don't know if the blowpoke thing actually is true or not. Like, I get it. I think that the lacerations could have been caused by her falling and, like, hitting her head down the stairs. Because, like, they don't look like cuts to me. They look like, like when you, like, hit something really hard and sometimes, like, the skin just kind of breaks.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. They look like that.
So they look like almost like dents.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, that feasibly to me could have been caused if she, like, hit her head, like, she was falling down the stairs and hit, like, the back of her, like,
Boom.
kunk, 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 kunk.
Yeah.
Or if she fell face forward and hit her head going down. Because
They hit those stairs pretty hard to do that much damage to your head, though.
But here's the thing: I've never taken a Valium, but I've.
That's true. I forgot about the Valium part.
But like I said, like, she might not have had, like, full wherewithal of her body.
That could be true.
Know what I'm saying? So, like, my
she was drunk.
And she was drunk.
Well, although they did the blood test.
But she wasn't that drunk.
No.
But you're not supposed to mix Valium with booze.
Well, yeah.
But again, I think that he was probably at the top of the stairs and got her to fall.
Like a slight nudge.
That, or, like, just plotted it in some way to make her fall.
Like push her down the stairs.
Maybe they got in a fight at the top of the stairs and, like, he just, like, pushed her. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think it was something more like that. I don't think it was an accident. Or maybe they were at the top of the stairs, they got in an accident and she, like, fell back.
Yeah.
Like, that's always possible. Maybe that part was an accident, but, like, why wouldn't you cop to that?
Yeah, why would you just be like, oh my god, I don't know if she just slipped and fell. Like, we were...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that her body was, where it was for at least, like, 30 to 45 minutes after she died, because the blood was drying.
Oh, yeah, and it takes a solid amount of time.
Right. And...
enough time to hide a fire poker.
Whoa.
And...
The other, like, weird thing, too, is that, in the 911 call, like, I think it's, there's probably some sort of recording of it online, but they're like, oh, how many stairs did he fall down? And he was like, oh, I don't know, like, 15 or 20. It's like, what?
15 or 20. Somewhere in there.
Yeah, and then he starts, like, counting, and she's like, it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
And, like, his, like, language in the 911 call is just very weird.
What did they say? It's, like, the person who's the most, like, almost calm in a 911 call. Like, when they're giving details, they give exact details. Mm-hmm. Like, if like, your wife just fell down the stairs or whatever, they go, how many stairs did she fall down? You'd be like, I fucking know she fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be freaking out.
Like, all of them?
Yeah. Like, a bunch. And then this one, he's actually giving, like, exact numbers. He goes, let me go count.
Like, it's weird.
Yeah, like, that's something that's almost too... Yeah. Way too chill about just finding your dead wife.
Exactly. And, like, I think in part of the 911 conversation, like, he even says, like, oh, like, I think she's breathing, I'm not sure. And, like, the medical examiner was like, she had been dead by the time he called.
Yeah.
So like that does why was she breathing?
Yeah.
Like he made it up.
Yeah.
It's all very weird and convoluted.
It is. And that's makes that documentary pretty interesting too.
Yeah. And like the blood spatter expert, like that guy's stupid. I can't handle him. Like I don't know if you remember him from the documentary.
I do.
Like, yeah.
I do remember.
And I think they've even said that like stuff that he's worked on like wasn't great.
Yeah.
And I mean shit, like based on like, that exhibit A, blood spatter isn't always like super like accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean like cuz like it's hard to mimic blood.
Yeah, exactly.
So who the fuck really knows? Like yeah, you can get kind of close, but like
You'd be like Dexter.
Exactly. Again, where the fuck's Michael C. Hall at?
Where's Michael C. Hall when you need him?
Exactly. Holy fuck, Michael Hall! But yeah, this whole thing is just like so bananas to me.
Yeah, it's a.
What's your opinion on what happened?
Oh, I think he did the fire poker, and then she did fall down the stairs. Like he hit her in the back of the head or whatever. She was about to go down the stairs, and then she fell. And so, because that's to me like again, if she naturally fell down the stairs, he's not gonna find her body. Like, what did he say he was doing? He came from outside.
He came from outside after because he said that she went to bed 2 hours prior, and like he's like okay, then like I'll finally turn in, and then like he just like found her on the basement
and
stairs.
He was outside that long. Like
yeah, like
bed 2
by himself
hours.
doing nothing.
So he was like, what? He was lonely. He was just staring at the stars all alone.
Yeah, because he like wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. So it's weird things like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like even if he said he went to bed early, like I mean, better lie to get out of it would be like saying he went to bed early, and it was like that one makes more sense.
I think so too.
But yeah, I think it was fire poker, and then he went and hid the fire poker in those 30 to 40 minutes, and then he came back and he called the police. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
That's my final verdict. That or a gang of owls attacked her.
One or the other.
It's up in the air right now. Still trying to decide.
A gang of owls, not even just one.
Nope. It's a hair gang.
Excellent. Well, that was the staircase and the case of Kathleen Peterson and Michael Peterson.
I highly advise watching that documentary on Netflix.
It's very good.
It's a good documentary.
It's very well done. They go into a lot more fucking detail than I just did, but yeah, and it's kind of so it's told kind of from his perspective. So like it's very like trying to make it look like he's like not guilty.
It's working the owl theory.
They do bring it up.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, oh, the stuff with the lady in Germany, like that was just like coincidental.
Just a coincidence that was the same exact thing.
Right.
Just a major coincidence.
Yeah. Well, and the weird thing about that too is that like, so they were like their like best friends basically, and like they ended up adopting her kids.
Oh.
Because like, so Michael and Kathleen had 2 kids of their own, and then their other 2 kids were adopted from that family because they didn't have parents anymore because the dad was already dead.
Oh damn. Jesus.
So they were like, oh my god, he killed both of our moms.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Isn't that fucking bananas?
Yeah. Yeah, this whole thing is so interesting.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite true crime cases, like, ever. Just because it's, like, so twisty and weird.
Yeah.
And, like I said, truly, like, who the fuck knows what happens?
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
Like, I think he was involved. I don't. But I'm... Yeah, obviously, I don't know. But... Yeah.
Damn.
Super wild. Anyways, yeah. That was this case. I will link all of our socials and stuff in the show notes and link our other podcasts that we do there. And I guess I'll put your socials in there, too.
Yeah. If you want to. If you're feeling generous.
Whatever.
Whatever.
All right, cool. I will see you back next week, and Jess may or may not be back. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll probably talk to her after I hit stop on this.
It's probably a good idea. Get that set up, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, well. Anyway, toodles!
Bye.